Hey, it's syndicated radio talk show host, author, singer Al Cole, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and very special people on the planet. I come from CBS Radio. My shows are nationally syndicated, and I've helped pave the way to treating women, guys too, with the dignity that they deserve, and I do that through my show, People of Distinction, aired on very dignified networks. In fact, the biggest airing CBS shows, and that's Apple's iTunes radio network under their professional news talk division, airing CBS shows, Fox News, NPR, BBC, and even C-SPAN. Best talk in the country and around the world is on Apple's iTunes network under News Talk. And coming from CBS Radio, I'm also a major media consultant. Hundreds of people have come to me and asked the question, Al, how can I make a profit through media these days for my books or podcasting or any of the things that I do, products and services? And I help them. I know the key to media, how to interview and how to make money through the media. And if you like that, well, not only visit my website, peopleofdistinction.org, but email me at alcoholic@gmail.com. You heard me right. That's ALCOLEHOLIC@gmail.com. And I really want to thank my CBS radio listeners for coming up with that handle, alcoholic. Seems like from day one, my listeners have been saying, Al, we love what you're doing there, brother. In fact, we're hooked on it. We're alcoholics. Coming up, a lady that you're going to love, too. Her name is Leesa King, and she's written a stunning book called Surrender Your Struggles to God. All right, now, that's what we should all be doing, except most of us aren't doing it. And why aren't we? We're going to ask Leesa that, but, I'm going to offer something here that my listeners are going to grab onto. Hey, is society in favor of God? Does it seem like it is? Our struggles often have nothing to do with God. Our struggles have to do with the system. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, my listeners. That's why you listen to People of Distinction, because we tell it like it is. Not only do we talk about the positive things, but we talk about some of the not-so-positive things as well that, hey, we can do something positively about when we understand it. A lot of what we have to bring to God is the baggage that our society brings to us. And we know that. And a lot of times, it's not even our fault. It might be a 5-year-old child that needs food. And maybe that 5-year-old child is having a hard time having food because maybe the system doesn't want to give that single mother anything to help to supply that 5-year-old child. You bring that struggle to God, well, sometimes you might not get an answer. Why? Not because God's not listening. It's because it's so overwhelming with the system that it's problem after problem after problem. All right, now I'm putting it that way. But then there's the positive way, too. Spirituality means something in our world. In fact, it means a whole bunch. In fact, I would say it means everything in the end. Once we get to be friends with ourselves, take a little bit of alone time, understand that, wow, this is a great miracle that you've been brought into by God. This miracle of life. And that is the final miracle of love as well. We start to love ourselves. We start to know that what we love about us, we see in other people too. You know that. It mirrors. And as we start to love ourselves more, we start to love other people more, we have fewer struggles to bring to God. But see, the love is God itself. So if we love, we are now surrendering not only the struggles to God, we're surrendering our lives to God. The beautiful life that God gave us in the first place. And we're going to be talking all about that with Leesa and her book, Surrender Your Struggles to God. It's available on Amazon.com, and Leesa might know of other places that you can order it too, and she's free to tell you all of that. And she was brought to me by Parchment Global Publishing for you. And if you want to get involved, go to parchmentglobalpublishing.com. Welcome, Leesa, to this spotlight interview on people of distinction. How are you doing today, Leesa?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for inviting me on your program, Mr. Cole.
Well, it's my pleasure, and we're going to be talking about your book the way that you want to talk about your book. Now, I put a certain angle on it too, not so much with God, but the struggles that we have in this world. And see, the institutions are not on our side, nor do they seem to be on God's side as well. And a lot of our struggles that we bring to God are caused by, well, we could say, quote unquote, man, the world, things along that line. And I know that you're very familiar with that. Tell us what you mean when you talk about your book, Surrender Your Struggles to God. You put it your way right now, Leesa.
We all go through different problems that happen to us. Even as you mentioned about the 5-year-old child, when I was in elementary school, my last name is King. There was a cartoon on called King Kong. I was very tall for my age, still am. But all the boys would call me that. I would say something to my parents about it, or just ignore that, but I really couldn't. And my self-esteem definitely eroded. Mm-hmm. I had low self-esteem for a good bit of my adolescence. When I was in high school, I met a new friend, and the one thing she stated to me was, God died for you. He loves you. You are no less than anybody else. You are somebody to God. We are God's creation. He loved us. He made us. And he wants us to draw closer to him. He wants us to present our problems to him. We have the free will to accept him or reject him. We also have the free will of being able to try to solve our problems on our own. But like with me, a lot of times it just kind of spirals more and more. But when I come to him with this, like, oh, God, I can't do anything about this. Like, that's right. Give it to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we love that. And you know, you're making so much sense right from the start, Leesa. You sound like just a really nice person and somebody down to earth, somebody who had, of course, their problems in life, their struggles. We all do. And one of your struggles, as you said, hey, you're a tall woman. And that can cut both ways. Sometimes it can mean intimidation. But then again, you know, people can make fun of that too. So you've experienced both. And you're still tall because you made a point of that. Now, give us one example, maybe coming from your books, Struggles, Surrender Your Struggles to God. One of the struggles that you surrendered to God, and it could be, my struggle with, what, God, why'd you have to make me so tall, or whatever, and how God helped you. Well, we're talking about God right now. We're not necessarily talking about the people around you, family members, loved ones, or the society in general, but just your struggles that you brought to God and the conversation that you had with God and how that resulted in, wow, all of a sudden you're in heaven. Tell us about one situation that way, Leesa.
Well, I am a 3-year survivor of breast cancer. When I was first diagnosed, I was diagnosed with a stage 3 breast cancer. The year before, I had my mammogram, nothing was there, I didn't see anything. 1 year later, there it was. So here I am, in my late 50s, like, God, why am I having cancer? I've been trying to serve you. Why do I have cancer? And he helped me through this. It's like I had to deal with, there's a possibility that, yes, I could die, but I have been a survivor now for 4 years. I had a good treatment, but through it all, I was going like up and down with my emotions for this. And he provides in different ways. I had a good friend at the time. She recently passed a few years ago, but while I was initially going through my cancer, I would call her because she had been going through a cancer of her own for several years. And then I had other people come and just help me out. A coworker drove an hour from her home to my house, cleaned my house for me, didn't charge me anything. That was her gift to me, something that helped me out. My cousin sent me a card while I was still in process with the chemo. She had initially stated, "I'm sorry, I did not send it to you earlier." But the card was this little turtle that was walking his path. You could see where he had been, and you could see that there's more to come. But God has brought me this far. And no matter what we go through, He's going to be there. Whether we get rejected by someone that we want to have a relationship with, get hurt by a friend, that had a parent die. That was very difficult for me when my father died. I was 28, and it actually took me a year to be able to handle going to church, because I'd go to church and I'd end up crying every day, every Sunday, start crying. But that's okay. And God wants us to be real with Him. He wants us to let Him know how we're feeling. I mean, He already knows. He already knows what we're going through. He already knows what we're feeling. But He wants us to come to Him and express that. And He wants us to ask for help or for forgiveness. There is the case in the Bible of King David. David was brought up, he was a shepherd boy, the youngest of his family, made king of Israel. He committed adultery with Bathsheba, and then had plotted to have her husband killed in battle. Yet God stated after all that David was a man after His own heart. He came to God and asked forgiveness. He just wants us to have a relationship with Him.
Wow.
And going through our times and struggles, that's how we get to know Him. Through prayer, getting to meet with other people of faith, to share what we've learned. We can pick up things from each other, the experiences that each other has gone through, as well as scripture readings.
Mm-hmm. Boy, I'll tell you, Leesa, you're making so much sense. I'm going to give this to my listeners right now. People, Leesa has about said it all. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. This is going on to my listening audience right now. I'm asking you a question, my people of distinction listeners right now. Is Leesa somebody that you could think you could be a friend of? The answer is overwhelmingly yes, because she's straight with what she's talking about. She has had her bouts with cancer and other things, and her struggles, and she's brought to God, and she's putting it in such an easy way to understand. And I want you, my listening audience, to understand this. She is down to earth, and guess what? So is God. God does not always have to be seen as that great proprietor in the sky who looks over everything and is the master of everything, and it's very difficult to approach God. No, it isn't. We can approach God any time that we approach ourselves in honesty, both the struggles and the achievements. We can approach God with all of that. And as we do that, we're saying, well, God, thank you, because I know you got something to do with this too, with my achievements. And guess what? I am going to say a prayer to you by way of a loved one who can also use your help now. See, as we serve others, we serve God too. Love is the best way to do that. And Leesa is talking about her love of life. Now, that's the big deal here. She loves life. And anybody that loves life can bring their struggles to God, and ultimately they are going to have that beautiful relationship with God. Because in loving life, you honor all of God's creations. God created life. And it's not fair to God if we divide ourselves from half of life out there. Oh, no, that's scummy. Oh, I don't want to have anything to do with that. No. We bring it all to ourselves in our consciousness. We don't have to go out there and comport with everything on the outside. But we have sympathy, empathy, and love for the things on the outside and the people on the outside that are also struggling. And that helps our struggles to God as well. Leesa said it so well. And am I making sense with what I'm saying right now, Leesa? And we only have really a couple of minutes in this show. But does that hit the point, too, of some of the things that you want to say about surrender your struggles to God as well? What I just said, Leesa, is that making some sense?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to add to that what you were stating about talking to God. You don't have to have a lot of fancy words. Just say what's in your heart. If you have a friend of yours that's sick, just that, Lord God, please touch him, help him through this, Lord. Heal him spiritually, emotionally, physically, but be there with him. Provide him the comfort that he needs. Just a simple prayer. It doesn't need to be long and drawn out. God's not looking for that. He just wants us to be honest with him.
Absolutely. And that's why I want you to order this book, Surrender Your Struggles to God, by our special guest here today on People of Distinction, Leesa King. It's available to you on Amazon.com. And one more time, I'm going to give it over to Leesa to say anything else in the last minute of the show on her part. Anything else that you want to add about your book, Surrender Your Struggles to God, you can add it right now to our listening audience as well, Leesa. Go for it.
My book has a few things within it as far as ways that you could help yourself, but also that you need to find other believers, talk with them, read your word, and pray, but to have the fellowship with other people. We are not meant to be alone here. He's created friends and family for us to help each other out.
Absolutely. And I'm going to cap off the show, too, with prayer. That was one of the things that Leesa just mentioned, prayer. And I did mention it earlier. Prayer is not only one of the great ways that we can communicate with God, even without words. There can be silent prayers. There can be prayers of feeling, emotion. There can be prayers of love, and prayers sometimes of despair that don't even need words. God understands. Guess what? Mm-hmm. Say a prayer, people, tonight, because everybody prays sometime for somebody. So say a prayer. Usually you pray for yourself. All right, that's okay. Do that. And sometimes you might pray for a family member that needs that prayer too. All right, so help Uncle John, help Aunt Judith or whatever. But also, say a prayer for somebody that you don't really even know, that you
Mm-hmm.
think might need that prayer too. Spread the love, people. And as you say that prayer for somebody that you don't even know that well, but you know them enough to know that, hey, maybe this prayer would be good for them. Send it out in the name of somebody that you love. Send it out in the name of Uncle John or Auntie Judith or whatever. And now you're connecting those two people, the one that you don't know too much and the one that you love a lot. You're connecting them in prayer. And boy, that prayer is going to bounce back and forth. And it's going to help Uncle John or Auntie Judith. It's going to help the person that you don't know too much. And it's going to come back to you too. And now there are three. But boy, there could be more than three because those people that are helped by that prayer, they're going to spread the word, even if they don't understand where it really came from. But it's not necessary because everything comes from God. And once you spread that word, whoa, you are a person of distinction. Get it? That's why I call my show People of Distinction. And Leesa is right at the top of that, too. She's a person of distinction. I've really enjoyed listening to her. Leesa King, our special guest. And I want you to order that book, Surrender Your Struggles to God. It's on Amazon. And one more time, she was brought to me by Parchment Global Publishing. So get in touch, parchmentglobalpublishing.com. Thank you so much, Leesa, for being my special guest on People of Distinction with Al Cole today. This has really been my pleasure. Thank you so much, Leesa.
Wow. I liked it. You really got tapped into some feelings for some people that was definitely there,
Absolutely.
that they're going to be searching.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you again for having me, and may everybody have a blessed new year.